Okay, welcome to today's webinar. My name is Michael Booth. I'm Vice President of Roots Magic and one of its developers. And I'm also developer of our Family Atlas mapping and publishing software. Usually we've had Bruce in the webinar with us, but he's actually out of town, and so I'm just doing solo duty today, but that's fine. Like I said, I'm the developer of the software, so you're getting your information right from the horse's mouth. And as we'll see today, Family Atlas is the fun and easy way to map your family history. I'm going to show you how to import your family data directly from your genealogy software, how to trace your ancestors' migration around the world, how to pinpoint the sites of important family events, and finally, how to create and print personalized family maps. Okay, here's the Family Atlas software. Starting out completely blank when you start it for the first time. You will see there's a main menu, there's a toolbar, there's a bar over here on the side, which we'll discuss later, and the most prominent feature on the screen is this globe, this giant map in front of you. Now, just like those old globes that you may have had at home when you were a kid, what do you like to do with a globe? You like to go, when you're a kid, you'd go up to the globe at home and you'd stick your finger on it and turn it and just spin it. And you can do the same thing with our globe here on the screen. You can hold down the mouse button and it's like putting your finger on the globe to turn it. Only this globe, which different than your old globe at home when you're a kid, you can spin all sorts of different directions. You can also zoom in and see the countries, states, and even the counties. You can also zoom out. Now, a question that we're often asked is, can this display historical boundaries? Obviously the boundaries for countries, states, and counties have changed over the years. The answer is no. These are present-day boundaries. The simple reason for that is the data just does not exist worldwide to show you every boundary for any year in the past. There are projects out there which, through great work, through a lot of work and research, they've been able to track down the boundary changes in a specific country, like the United States, and which has a relatively young history compared to other countries where you would have centuries and centuries of changing boundaries, and many of them were disputed anyway at the time, so it's very hard to pinpoint what those boundaries actually were at the time. We have one question here about the counties. Yes, the counties apply, the present-day counties apply not only to the United States, but worldwide as well. We can kind of zoom in and you'll see at least states. And countries here going to Europe. Okay. Now, this is all well and good looking at this little interactive world map, but where it really gets interesting is when we can take our own genealogy and family history and plot it on this map. In order to do so, we need to first create a new atlas file. And this is available up on the main menu under File. There's New Atlas, or I could also just click on this blank piece of paper on the toolbar to create a new atlas file. The screen comes up. It asks to create a new family atlas. with new Atlas tasks. Would you like help importing and plotting data in your new Atlas? And we say, yes, I can import and plot information from my genealogy, or I can also import and plot other places and events in, say, a text file or a spreadsheet if I'd written down a list of events and places where they occurred. Not just my genealogy, but also just any list of places, which we will see later on. I'm just going to start out importing, plotting my genealogy. So check that, click OK, and then this wizard comes up, import your genealogy, and I'll click yes. It says, which genealogy software do you use? Family Atlas can import from Family Tree Maker through version 2006, can import from Legacy, from Path, or from Roots Magic. And I happen to have a GEDCOM file ready. Once I choose my GEDCOM file, if I'm not sure where it is, I could click Search for Files, and it would search my computer for all the matching files and present them in a list. I'm going to click Next now that I've chosen my GEDCOM file, and it loads it, and very quickly you saw it was scrolling through all of the places in my file, and it was matching them against a list of 3.5 million places. This list of 3.5 million places comes with Family Atlas. Now, Family Atlas will check all these places in my genealogy file and try to determine them, match them up with one of the places in this giant database that it has. Those that it cannot make a confident match. In other words, it didn't recognize the place, or the place as I typed it in could have matched more than one possible place in its database. In those cases, it brings them up in the list. In this case, I've got 30 unmatched places, and then each of the unmatched places is presented in this list. If I click on the name of the place, it searches for the matches and automatically gives me possible matches for the place that I typed in over here on the right, with the most likely matches up at the top and the least likely matches there near the bottom. So in this case, I can make this a little bigger. I have Buckland, Monacorum, Tavistock, Devonshire, England, and it said, well, how about this? Doesn't match? It looks like it matches Buckland, Monacorum, Devon, England. I'll say yes, accept that match. And once I do that, it removes it from the list. And look down here, see this checkbox where it says remember this choice, and then parentheses it says add to the personal place list. Well, it's kind of like in your word processor where you have a spell check, where the first time you install on a new computer your word processor, you'll type in, say, a name which is common to you but may not be in the spell check dictionary. You'll type in, say, a surname, a family name, and immediately you'll get the little red squiggles under it saying, oh, I don't recognize this word, it's misspelled. Well, you right-click on it, and one of the menu options will be Add to Dictionary. So you are teaching your word processor's spell check dictionary so that the next time you type in that name, it knows that's a valid word and doesn't mark it as misspelled. You're doing a similar thing in Family Atlas. By having this box checked, remember this choice. I have Caliente, Las Vegas, Nevada, and if I say match that to Caliente, Lincoln, Nevada, United States, and click Accept Match, then the next time it imports my file and comes across Caliente, Nevada, it will automatically match to that place. So I really only need to do this one time. Pretty much the first time I import my file, I'm going to have this little bit of a learning curve, but after that it'll remember my choices. Now, let's say you have a place in your file that's not really a place. I don't have an example in this particular file, but pretend that I had the name of a ship that they emigrated on. Okay, the name of the ship is what I put in for the place, but it may not be something that I want to put on a map. It's not a physical place that could be plotted on a map. So if that's the case, I would just click Ignore Place, and then it would just mark it as unmatched, and it would not attempt to plot that on the map. Okay, let's say you've got something down here like Logan. Okay, I click on Logan, and I happen to know that this is Logan, Utah. Right now it's just saying search for Logan. I could either scroll through this list, or since I know what it is, up here I can just modify what it's searching for, and I'll click Logan, type Logan, Utah, click search. It found what I'm looking for, and I click accept match, and then it's done. Okay. I've noticed there have been some questions about, does Family Atlas work with Windows 7? Yes. In fact, right now what you see is Family Atlas running on Windows 7, and it's even Windows 7 64-bit. So works great. Okay, so I just go through my list one by one, matching these up. And this really helps you see where the unknown places in your file are. Someone asked, why are the matching places not listing the county, or in my case, a canton in Switzerland? It does its best to match it up, like I said, against this 3.5 million places. So if you have, in your file, if you just have the name of the city and the country, and Family Atlas will look in that country and see how many cities match that name. If there's only one, it'll just match it up. But if, say, you have two cities in a particular county that, or two cities with the same name in two different counties, and it's not sure which county it belongs to, it'll present it here in this list of unmatched places. So I'm not going to take the time to finish all of these. I'm just going to hit, well, let me take care of these right here. Okay, I'm just going to hit close. And I could go back at any time, and we'll look at this later, but I could go back and change where my places are matched to. So just because I skipped it at this time, I could go back later and complete that process. But now it asks if I wish to add any genealogy markers to plot on the map. Now this is what we really want. In other words, we've imported our genealogy, and now we want to see it on our map. It says, would you like to add genealogy markers now? Yes. Or I could click no and add them later. I'll click yes, click finish, and now I get the screen that says edit genealogy markers. Up here at the top, there's a spot for the title. There's a space for the symbol, labels, and then down below in the bottom half of the screen, you have people and then events. Okay, so let's pretend that I want to plot all of the booths in my file. So for the title, I'm going to type booths. Okay, for the symbol, I'll click Edit, and I can change the shape. I could change it to a circle, square, a triangle, or a diamond. I'm going to go do a circle. I can change the color. So I could just change it to a different type of blue. I could make it bigger or smaller. I can change the border color and make it a thicker border or not. I could even set a connecting line between a person's events. So I could change the color of the line And right now, by default, its thickness is set to no line, so it's not going to draw a line between events. If I did want to connect the events with a line, I would just choose how thick of a line I wanted, and it shows me up here in the preview what my symbol for this set of markers is going to look like. Click OK. And right now, I have people and events. 0 people are selected. And remember, this is going to be a genealogy marker for everyone with the name Booth. So from this list, I'm just going to type B-O-O-T-H. So I've selected someone in the list with the name Booth. And over here on the right, I'm going to select the group. And I have the options to select all individuals, family members, in other words, a parent and children. I could select ancestors of the currently selected person, descendants of the currently selected person, or by surname. So I'll do by surname. And it says, what surname do you want to select? And it's already chosen Booth. I'll click OK. And now it tells me there's 62 people selected. I could click on this tab that says Events, and I could limit the actual types of events that I want to plot on the map. So let's say I just wanted to plot the births. Right now, all the event types are selected, so I'll just click Unselect All. And since many of them, I'm going to check birth, and since many of them came from England, I don't have an actual birth record for them. I just have a christening record for them. Okay, and you see right now, if I click OK, suddenly I have these markers on the screen. You see these blue dots over here in England, and then some blue dots over here in the United States. And just without telling you anything about my family history, you can look at this and know, he has family. His family all came from England, at least the Booths came from England, and they all came over to the United States. Okay, I could zoom in on this and see things in a little more detail, and you'll see where my Booths come from. That they pretty much come from, if I zoom in more, they came right here from the Greater Manchester area there in Lancashire, near Bolton. Okay. Now let's say we want to not just look at the Booths, but we want to also look at other family lines on this map. So over here on the left, you'll see that my Booths marker set has appeared in this list on the left that says marker sets. I can click on the green plus sign to add another marker set. In this case, I will choose Genealogy Marker Set again. So it's creating these markers which are linked to people and events in my genealogy file. So I click OK. And this time, let's do something a little bit different. This time, let's do a family line. Let's start with Elizabeth Warren. And I'm going to call this Elizabeth Warren and Ancestors. And I like the pink, but instead of a circle, let's make it a diamond. And I've selected Elizabeth Warren, and now I also want to select a group, and this time I'm going to check Ancestors. And I choose all generations of ancestors, and I can include non-related spouses and ancestors, and also siblings of ancestors. I'll go ahead and do that so I get all the family members, and I click OK. So here I now have one set of marker for the surname Booth, and then another set of markers showing Elizabeth Warren and the ancestors. If I want to look at one but not the other, you'll see that next to each marker set there's a checkbox. So I can just uncheck booths and then they disappear from the map. And I check booths again and then they reappear, and I can hide Elizabeth Warren and her ancestors doing the very same thing. Okay, so I'll zoom in on England, and now you can see where the Booths lived, and they came from a very, very different place than where the Warrens lived geographically. Now let's say I want to plot something on the map that isn't exactly from my genealogy. In other words, it's not, I want to plot something on here that doesn't come from my genealogy data. This would be useful for plotting migrations, a specific immigration, or it could be Civil War battles where important historical events happened. It could even be family vacations for your own modern-day family. You could make a map of where you went every year on a vacation. Well, I'm going to click Add a Marker Set, and this time I'm going to add a Place Marker Set. This is a set of markers that I can type in by hand, or that I could import from a file, from a text file or an Excel file, and plot these places on the map. So click OK after I choose Place Marker Set. Just like the genealogy markers, I have a spot up here to enter the title, the symbol, and the labels. But down below, instead of having a tab for people and events, I just have a list that I can type in the place markers by hand. So I'm going to call this the Immigration of John Booth. And I will add a marker. And for the label, I'm going to type Bolton, and then I could even add a date. And then for the place, I'm going to type Bolton, Lancashire, England. I'll hit Tab and see how it automatically filled in the latitude and longitude. That's because, based on me typing in Bolton, Lancashire, England, is able to automatically figure out the latitude and longitude and plot those. If it couldn't figure it out automatically, I could just click Lookup, and it would show me possible matches. So I click OK, and now Bolton is on my list. Well, I know after Bolton he went to Liverpool, so then I type Liverpool, England, in for the name of the place, and it filled in the latitude and longitude for me. And then from Liverpool he went to New York City, and from New York City went to Chicago, and from Chicago went to Council Bluffs, Nebraska. It couldn't find that. Is actually there, right there on the border between Nebraska and Iowa. So I put in the latitude and longitude and click OK. So I now have these 5 points where that tracked the actual path of his immigration. I'm typing these in by hand because while I could type these into the genealogy software, I could say, well, he went to Bolton, he immigrated, he moved to Liverpool, then New York, then Chicago, and Council Bluffs. That's kind of overkill. That's not necessarily, that would be information that would be in his notes in his genealogy, but I probably wouldn't type these in as actual events in my genealogy software. But I can type them in here for the purpose of a map, and I'll change the symbol. Actually, I kind of like that green. Let's do a green square, make it a little bigger, and because this is an immigration, I do definitely want that connecting line. I'll choose something nice and thick, and I'm going to make that line a dark green. I'll click OK, and OK again, and ta-da! Now I have a nice map of exactly where his immigration went. I could shut off Booth's and Elizabeth Warren, so I just have this nice clean map. And this would be something that I would want to publish and include in a history of John Booth. Okay, but let's look at some other cool features here on the main screen. Now that we've added these three marker sets, okay, I may also want to look at these over time and see how they moved over time. And so up here on the toolbar, you'll see a button that says Time Slider. Okay, right now it looks just like a normal button, a gray background. Once I click on it, see how the button itself looks like it's been pushed down. And down here at the bottom of the screen, this little time slider bar has appeared. The time slider, it shows the year, and right now there's 1700 to 1800, and there's this bracket. And the bracket, if I move the mouse over the bracket, it turns into a little pointing finger. So I can hold down the mouse button, and I can drag this bracket and move it around. And see how the years are changing, 1777 to 1877, and I can drag this up here. Whoa! And look what's happening to the markers up on the map. As I drag this around, the markers are appearing and disappearing, and it's only showing the markers and the events that happened in this span of years. So all events between 1700 and 1800. I could make this time span shorter if I move the mouse over on the edge of the bracket. See how it turns into a little double-edged arrow? I can hold the mouse button and move this down and make a much smaller time span and drag this around and literally watch my ancestors dance. Now, because I'm very lazy and I don't feel like dragging that bar around, I have this little play button. I click play and it moves around for me. I think some of the most interesting things to learn from the time slider is how little people used to move around, how they would stay very often in the same city or just the very same small area for centuries in some cases. In fact, while the time slider is running, I can zoom in. Now I can be exploring this map, moving around, and watching all of this happen. The time frame on the time slider, it pulls those years based on the data in your genealogy markers. So right now, the time slider goes all the way up to 1996 or so, because that is the data that I have displayed in my markers. If I had a birth that happened in 2011 that was for a person that was being that was included in the Booth's marker set, then the time slider would go all the way up to 2011. So the years are all dynamic based on the data that there is to show. Okay, now I can just stop that. I can make the time slider move faster or slower up under Tools, then Options. There's Time Slider. I can change the animation speed. I can make it go faster. or slower. You can also do that. You can get there by clicking on this little circle button in the lower right-hand corner of the time slider. We'll take you there so you can just tweak the speed, whatnot. Okay. So right now, as long as this time slider is on, I'm not going to see all the events in my file because it's filtering them down. I'm going to click on time slider again, and then the bar disappears, and now it is showing me all of the markers in my set, regardless of when they happened. Okay, now, when I move the mouse over a particular dot, it shows me the label that I've set for that marker. I can change that by clicking on the marker set, double-clicking, and over here where it says labels, right now it is set for short place. Short place is basically taking the name of the place and just chopping off everything after the first comma. I could edit this and change this. I could display the name of the person. I could put the date of the event, what type of event, the full place name, the geocoded place, the date, the name in the event if I wanted, or even the name, event, date, or just using the different codes and brackets. I could add whatever text I wanted next to each marker. So I'm going to do name, and then I'm going to put parentheses around event. So now you see how these markers changed. Before it was the short place. It was just the first part of the place up to the first comma. Now it shows the name of the person and then in parentheses the event that happened there. So it gives me a little more information. If I want to know the significance of any of these places, let me just adjust this up. So give me a little more space. Like Tong, here is Tong and 11 events. Oops. If I click on Tong, over here on the left, I have the Family Explorer. The Family Explorer, I'm going to have to just make this bigger so you can see. The Family Explorer allows me to click on any place, and then it tells me what happened there. So once I click on Tong, it says there are 25 events that happened here. And it gives me the name, the event, and even the date. So I can scroll through here and see everything that happened in Tong. Up here, I've got Elizabeth Warren, the immigration. I can see everything that happened there. If I want to see all the immigrations in my file, then I click Immigration. This is truly an explorer over on the left. I can click on Names, Couples, names of places, and it just shows me all of that information there. Fully interactive. Let me zoom out from this map. Okay, and let's say that we want to publish this map of the immigration of John Booth. I want to take that and make it into a nice publishable format to include in history about John. But I want to make some changes to the map itself. I want to customize this. Well, I can do so up here by clicking Atlas Options. If I click here, first thing I can do is change the shape. By default, I have a spherical globe for the map, but I could do a flat Cartesian map like this. The Cartesian map is one where the latitude and longitude, the graticules are spaced evenly. So it causes it causes some kind of a different type of stretching and distortion, trying to take a sphere and stretch it out onto a flat surface. But that's what the Cartesian map looks like. And I could change this to a Mercator map, which doesn't look quite so deformed, except it has the problem of once you get into the higher latitudes, it kind of exaggerates the size of the land. So in this case, it makes Greenland look almost as big as Africa when it really isn't. But it looks a little bit better to the eye, and this is usually what you'll see in a classroom. Okay, so once I have my map, I can choose the different shape of the map. I'm just going to go back to the regular old sphere. But I want to change the colors. Well, first I can turn the state, the county borders on and off. I can also turn the graticules, or the latitude longitude lines. I can have them be below the land, above the land, or hide them all together. For the colors, I can tweak every little aspect of the map, such as the background color, color for the latitude and longitude lines, the land, water, borders, the label text, for the scale, and so on. And it has built-in color schemes too. So if I really like pink, I can choose bubblegum. And I have a beautiful pink map. Or if I want to make this look like an antique map, I click Antique, and it makes it look like one of those old sepia maps. If I'm going to have a family reunion, and maybe I want to make a coloring page, I could choose black and white and have a black and white map that could be colored. Something for the kids to do. But I'm going to go back to, let's go to Atlas 1 is probably good. So if I like these colors, and the map looks just how I want it to look, let me zoom in just a little bit. Okay, so I have this map of his immigration. Once I'm ready to publish it, I click up here on the toolbar, the little printer that says Publish Map. Once I click here, it brings up this screen where I can give it a title and a subtitle. So I will call this The Immigration of John Booth, England to the United States, and then I'll type in 1867, or just put a date there. I can change the size of the paper. Right now it's set for letter size paper. I could make this landscape or portrait, and it shows me in the lower right hand corner kind of a preview of what it will look like. I could also do, in addition to standard paper sizes, I could do a custom paper size, and I could make this something huge, like 30 inches wide and 20 inches tall. And I could make a map that could be printed on a large oversized printer. And in fact, you could take this file, and if you send it to Generation Maps, if you go to printmychart.com, you can email them this file, they'll print it, and then mail that map to you, which is pretty nice. But I'm just going to make this small, standard size. Instead of legal, I meant letter. And the legend, if I had multiple marker sets, I could have it create a legend on the left. I'm going to set it for none because I'm just doing a very simple map with just one set of markers for his immigration. I can set the margins right here, and then the map quality. When I'm ready, I click Publish. And here we go. This is the Family Atlas Publisher. And you'll see this is very much like a graphics drawing program. It's taken a snapshot of the map, just how I had it, only it's a very high resolution copy of the map. It's put in my title up here, and now I can move this information around. I can edit text, and I can also add my own annotations and changes to the map. So let's say I want to add a picture of John Booth. Well, over here on the left, I click on the Insert Picture, and it pops up this. Pops up the screen, and I can put a picture. Well, sorry, no offense to my ancestor. I could add a picture. I can add lines. I can add text. Add text here. And I could also add shapes. So I could add circles and even little pointer buttons to it. So I could really customize and make this map really my own. Customize it however I want. I could add pictures of the ship, pictures of him and his family. Quite a number of things, whatever I want to this program, to this map. And then when I'm ready, I can, under File, I could save this, and this is just going to save it as a Family Atlas map file. Or I can go to Export, and I could export as a PDF file or as a graphic. And I have a choice between a JPEG, a GIF file, a PNG, or a bitmap file. So I can make a nice PNG file and just call this John Smith Immigration. And now I have a nice, graphic of his immigration that I could attach to John in Roots Magic, or if I was writing his history and personal historian, I could just insert this map in the story of his immigration. The question, someone asked, what's a PNG file? A PNG is just another graphics format like JPEG or GIF. What I like about it is it works well for maps. Most every program can read and use a PNG file, but the biggest difference between it and JPEGs is JPEGs, they compress down and they can get kind of soft edges and kind of blurry edges, and that's just due to the JPEG compression, which is great for most photographs. You don't see it, but on a map it's easier to see these little distortions, these artifacts. And so a PNG file, it's small, it's compressed, but it doesn't have those artifacts, so it works very well for maps. Someone asked, can you put states in the USA map? Yes. Under Atlas options, one of those options, I could have told it to display the state boundaries or even the county boundaries. Okay, so that's the publishing. I'm just going to close this down, and it wants to know if we want to save the changes to our map, and I'll say no. So I'm back to the main screen here in Family Atlas. Now, Family Atlas comes with a few tools which are useful. If I go to Tools, then Gazetteer, this gives me full access, the ability to search that database of 3.5 million places that comes with Family Atlas. So I can type, if I'm looking for goose, I click goose, click search, and it shows me all the possible Goose. There's Goose City, Goose Bay, Goose Arm, and so on, Goose Run. And there are a lot of old historical names in here, so if you are looking at an old record and you see a place, you aren't sure what that place is, you can type in a partial match. Like Goose, and you can have it search and show you possible matches, and you may just track down the name of the place. Type in haystack, and there's two haystacks. There's haystack in Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada, and haystack in Sonoma, California. If I want to see where haystack Canada was, I could click View on Map and move this out of the way. It centers the map over and it draws little crosshairs over where the city is. Okay, so that is the Gazetteer. Next tool, we already looked at the publisher. The next one is the coordinate converter. So this will just allow you to convert between different coordinate systems. It can convert between latitude and longitude decimal, latitude and longitude in degrees, minutes, and seconds, and also it can convert to and from the British National Grid and Irish National Grid systems. You could like British National Grid, I'll type A3514 and convert, and that has converted this cryptic British National Grid coordinate into a latitude and longitude. Or I could do vice versa. I could type in a latitude and longitude and convert it to British National Grid or Irish National Grid using the same method. So I'll just close that. And there's also a distance calculator. So if I want to know the difference between Salt Lake City, Utah, so I just type the name of the place. It fills in the latitude and longitude. And then I want to find the difference between the distance between Salt Lake City and Disneyland. I type in Disneyland. It fills in the latitude and longitude for me. I click calculate, and it says it's 583.02 miles, and the bearing is 35 degrees south, or it's south 36 degrees west is the bearing. That is, of course, as the crow flies. Actual driving on roads will be a little bit longer than that. Okay, there's also under Tools, there's an Options menu, and this allows you to change the format of the latitude and longitude as it's displayed. You have a choice between different formats. Same thing with the bearing. You can change the format of that. If instead of miles and feet, if you want to use kilometers and meters, you just check this option right here. And then for the publisher sizes, you can choose between inches, centimeters, and millimeters. Also on the options screen for folders, this just allows you to set the default folders where your atlas files are, where your published map files are, where your genealogy files and your pictures are. So you can just click here. If I know my pictures are always going to be right here, I just choose that, so when I go to insert a picture in the publisher, it will bring me up to that folder by default. And by default, your maps and atlas files are stored in your documents folder. Okay, in terms of other tools, right here under lists, there's list and there's genealogy places. This will show you a list of all the places in your file, and the original place name as you had it in your genealogy file is displayed in this column called place name. The next column says matched to, and that is the name of the place that Family Atlas matched it to from its 3.5 million places. So Alpine, Utah County, Utah, comma, USA was matched to Alpine, Utah, Utah, United States. CalStot, Cornwall, England was matched to CalStot, Cornwall, England, United Kingdom. The next two columns show you the latitude and longitude, and then this column, events, shows you how many events you have in that place. Okay, and so if I wanted to change one of these, like right here, Dean Bolton, it looks like it matched it to Don Bildan, Fars, Iran. I know that's not right. I'll just click Edit, and for Match To, I will change this to Bolton. And I'm going to look this up to make sure I get the right coordinate in there, and so I'm able to correct that mistake in there. Now I could also take this list of place names, I could export this and save it out to, say, an Excel spreadsheet, and that will show me all of the places, in my file, what they're matched to, as well as the latitude and longitude. That's the genealogy place list. I'll click Close to close that down. The next set of places is personal places. This is really that spell check dictionary that I was telling you about when we checked that checkbox that said remember this choice, and then parentheses it said add to personal places. Personal places are your own list of custom places where you can give it a place name that it's looking for, and you tell it what it needs to be matched to, and you give it the latitude and longitude right here. You can add new places, delete places from this list, or edit them. And again, you could clear this list entirely or export it out to an Excel file. And I will click Close. And the final list is nearby places. This is really cool. Nearby places allows you to give it a starting point, a position, the name of a place or coordinate, a latitude and longitude, and then you can say, show me all of the places, the genealogy events, and or place markers that happened within X number of miles, or if you set your options to be kilometers, it'll be kilometers of the place of origin. So let's say I want to see everything that happened within 20 miles of Ogden, Utah. Okay, I type in Ogden, Utah. It filled in the latitude and longitude, and I say show me all the places, genealogy events, and place markers within 20 miles of Ogden, Utah. I click OK, and here's the list. So it shows me the place, the name, and the type of event, so basically what happened there, and then the date when it happened, the distance to my place of origin, and the bearing. So I can see Albert Warren Booth, he died in Ogden. And then down here, these are not events from my genealogy file. These are places from from the 3.5 million places. So I could say, show me just the places within 20 miles. And these will be cities and towns and so on within 20 miles of Ogden, Utah. Now this is very useful because this is looking at coordinates, not just the name of the place. For example, one person I knew, he and his wife, they were going to go out east, and they were going to go on a little genealogy research trip and drive across the country and visit some courthouses and some cemeteries. Well, they knew that they were going to be at this one particular courthouse looking for records. And so they opened up Family Atlas, imported their genealogy. They did the nearby places report with the city where that courthouse was. And they said, just show us all the genealogy events that happened within 20 miles. And instantly, it showed them a bunch of burials that were not only, they were within 20 miles, but they were in a different state. And they hadn't even considered the possibility, they hadn't even thought that they'd be near those records, because just looking at the name of the place, it was a completely different state than where they were going to be. It wasn't until Family Atlas showed them everything geographically that they realized, oh, we're going to be within 20 miles of these grave sites that we hadn't considered. So they were able to better plan their research trip, and they were able to visit and locate some grave sites that they otherwise would have forgotten. Okay, someone's asking about some latitudes in Utah shown as south rather than north. I think you're talking about over here. This is the bearing, and this is from our place of origin. So this is saying that this city, Anderson, West Acres, Weber, Utah, United States, is 5.3 miles south, 84 degrees west of Ogden. So this isn't a latitude. It's actual a bearing. Okay, so that is the nearby places report. Now, if you've used Google Earth, let me bring Google Earth up for you. Google Earth is pretty cool. This is a free program made by Google, available at googleearth.com, and it's gotten quite a lot of attention in the genealogy community. You can use Google Earth to view the satellite imagery. So unlike Family Atlas, which is just showing you the simple basic borders, you see not just borders, but you see the satellite imagery down to buildings and streets. Okay? This is in Google Earth. Differences between Family Atlas and Google Earth. Google Earth is free. Family Atlas is paid software. Family Atlas is completely self-contained, so it doesn't require an internet connection. It can run all on its own. Google Earth requires a constant connection to the internet so that it can be downloading the satellite images as they are needed. Google Earth is designed for viewing and exploring and publishing, where Family Atlas, in addition to the exploring, it will also do the publishing aspect. It's very difficult to get a good map that you would want out of Google Earth to plot or to include in a history. And then the biggest difference is that Google Earth does not read your genealogy file. There are different ways that you can import places or enter places into it, but you'd have to do it all by hand, and it's not going to import your genealogy. But Family Atlas, knowing its strengths, and it's not trying to compete with Google Earth, it actually can work with Google Earth. Okay, so if we go into Family Atlas, we can go to File, Export to Google Earth, and I can call this webinar test, and then it saves this as a .kml file. And that stands for keyhole markup language. It's basically a file that can be used by Google Earth and other mapping software to transfer data points and markers and things like that. So I'll save this out to a Google Earth file. I can go into Google Earth and I can open I choose this KML file that was created in Family Atlas, and now all of these family markers that I imported from my genealogy are available to me in Google Earth. And so now I can see here's Bolton with the satellite imagery, and of course this is all present day. This is as of June 2009. So this is Family Atlas. Not only is very good for its research tools and publishing, but just the fact that it acts as a bridge between your genealogy file and Google Earth itself is very useful. Okay. And then the last thing to show you is how to get Family Atlas. If you don't have it already, it's available on our website at rootsmagic.com, and you can just click on Family Atlas, and it's available for $29.95 on CD right there on our website, and it's for Windows 7, Vista, XP, 2090, Windows 98 and 95, and I have it running just fine on my MacBook Pro using Crossover software. But we'll have a webinar at a different time talking about running the software on a Mac, which is surprisingly easy. Okay, so let's open it up just for a few minutes to any questions out there. If you want to type in your questions, and I will read them and answer them. Okay, a question. Can you install Family Atlas on a USB drive similar to Roots Magic to Go? Those of you who don't know, a really cool feature in Roots Magic 4 is the ability to install it right onto a flash drive and take the software and the data with you wherever you go. Right now, there is no Family Atlas to Go, but it's coming. So that is definitely something that's coming. Another question, is there a way to adjust the location to an exact address and not a generic city? Yes. And when you import your genealogy into Family Atlas, if all you have is the name of the city, Family Atlas is going to look at that name, try to compare it against its own database of cities, and give a latitude and longitude for that city. It's not going to be the exact street address or gravesite or anything like that. It's just going to be a latitude and longitude, a coordinate for just a general coordinate for the city. Now, you can, if you use software like Roots Magic or even Legacy that allow you to enter the latitude and longitude directly into the software for an event. Family Atlas, when it reads that file, it brings the coordinate in and uses that coordinate. So in other words, if I have the exact coordinate of a gravesite, I can record that into Roots Magic, and when I import my Roots Magic file into Family Atlas, it will plot that burial at the exact spot for the coordinate that I had entered into my software instead of approximating it by the city. Let's see. Oh, someone had a question about our 3.5 million places. Are any historical place names also included? Yes, quite a few historical places are included. Historical names, alternate spellings of places, even native language names of places. And it can vary from country to country. We had to pull the data together from quite a wide variety of sources, and we had to license the mapping data, the places from several different sources, in order to bring it all together. Someone asked, can you add places to the Gazetteer? Yes. In this personal places list, any place that you add here will be included in the Gazetteer. Someone else asked, is there a trial version available for Family Atlas? The answer to that is no. And really the reason for that, it's the same reason why there isn't a download version of Family Atlas available, and that is because of its size. This Family Atlas, it requires a fair amount of hard drive space. It's about 250 megabytes for this place database, as well as all of the all the maps that it displays. And so it's a pretty big download. I know there are bigger downloads out there, but we just made the decision to only make it available on CD just due to its size. One person asked, can you load on more than one computer? Yes. If you buy it, you can install it on any of your own personal computers. Someone asked, where does the KML file reside that you create when you export for Google Earth? The KML file goes wherever you tell it to go. So when you save it, by default, it will want to go into your Documents folder, but you could put it any place, and then you just want to be sure when you open up Google Earth that you load the file and you look in the same folder where you'd saved it to. Okay. Again, the website where you print your map is www.printmychart.com. Okay, let's wrap things up here. Just a reminder, this webinar was recorded, and we will make this webinar available on our website at rootsmagic.com/webinars. Just give us a few hours to process it, get it uploaded, and make the change to the website. But also, while you're there looking at this webinar or any of our past webinars, you can sign up for future webinars. We have several really interesting ones scheduled for this upcoming month of March, and you can also take a survey about webinar topics that you'd like to see us cover. In the meantime, thank you very much for attending, and good luck with your mapping. And if you don't have Family Atlas, by all means, go to the website rootsmagic.com and order it today.